Welcome back to The Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill, but if you're new here, I love talking all things reality TV, and today we are talking about TLC's newest look at love in their reality show, Forbidden Love. In their newest show, TLC is looking at different couples where each partner was raised with a different religious background and seeing how that affects their relationships and lives. We follow 4 different couples. All of them are in different stages of their relationships. Some are married, some are just dating, but in each case, one of the partners is in some sort of a journey to convert to the other partner's religion. So we're seeing how this affects their family and their relationship as a whole. So when I saw the first ad for this show, I knew immediately I had to watch it and was gonna love it. I had just finished watching Love Off the Grid, which is a different show that I have not made a video on. Maybe I should. Anyway, but after I saw the ad for it and saw who was making it, I said, yes, this is 100% up my alley and definitely something I will probably be making a video about. Like my TLC 90 Day Fiancé videos, we're just gonna go couple by couple, talk about some key points, my personal opinions, and then at the end we'll give a little bit of an overall. First up, we have Ashley, who is 31 and Catholic, and her husband, Mohammed, who is 31 and Muslim. They are married and have a child together, and we are seeing Ashley and her journey to fully accept Islam. This one is one of the most interesting couples to me, mostly because they are the most established, so they really just yelling break up at them like I like to do with 90 Day Fiancés. A little more difficult. They're married, they've been married, they have a whole child together. They're in pretty deep. Ashley and Mohammed had a very fast relationship with getting married and having a child, and from what it seems like during their talks of, being in love and all that, Ashley said at minimum she would consider converting to Islam, and now we're having to watch her really come to terms with that, learn about it, see if that's something she can do. Along with that, we are watching her family be super against this. They're of the mind of you shouldn't have to change for somebody you love. And I'm not necessarily saying that they don't like Islam and they don't like Muslims, but they definitely give those kind of vibes. For example, a big sticking point we have with them is their different family relationships in general. We'll start with the lesser one. We'll talk about Muhammad's brother. Doesn't really like Ashley. He wishes Muhammad would have just married a Muslim woman. And him and Ashley have had very contentious arguments. It seems Ashley has broken some of his stuff while I think they were all living together in some format. They've had a lot of arguments between the two of them. On the other side, we have Ashley's sister, who, not to his face, but called Mohammed a terrorist. Now, I will say she denies this multiple times, but multiple other people, not just Ashley, say they heard her say it. So I'm gonna go with all the other people being like, yeah, I heard you, and not the girl who probably just wants to save face. And at one point she starts kind of conceding and being like, well, I said it, but I didn't mean it like that. I wasn't talking about him. I was talking in a more general, she tries to kind of deflect it, but I don't know. Everybody seems to have heard what they heard, and I'm going to go with the masses on that one. Along with the family conflicts, Ashley's having the conflicts of, does she really want to convert to this religion? Is it what she wants to do with her life? All of those sort of things. She's worried about how strict some of the rules are, and we're seeing her struggle with that. And I say this all the time, especially on 90 Day Fiancé, and I'm probably going to at least say it 4 times in this video, but I never understand how, if religion is so important and a deal breaker to you, how people end up in these relationships. And I get it. You can't help who you love, blah, 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 blah. I 100% get it, but it just seems very odd to me. In a lot of these cases, and in this case, it does very much seem like Muhammad is very firm and strong in his religion, whereas Ashley was raised Catholic, but doesn't necessarily seem being Catholic is a big part of like her identity as a person. So I guess when part of it I think could be people who are very strong in their religion like that can see someone who isn't sure and feel more comfortable of like, I can convert them, things will be fine, I can make them who I want to be, and everything will be fine. But it doesn't tend to work out that way. However, in this case, by the end of the season, Ashley does convert. She has this beautiful ceremony. They both cry. It was very sweet. And they are still together. I've seen them on the social media being together, and I wish nothing but the best for them. Next up, we have Kris, who is 37 and Pentecostal, and Lensa, who is 32 and Muslim. These two are just dating, but that has not stopped Kris from deciding he is going to convert for Lensa. And this one is great because this one's full of secrets. First, we have Kris, who is hiding the fact that he's planning to convert from his family. Then we have Lensa, who is just completely hiding the fact that she is dating Kris from her family. So we're off to a great start. Honestly, though, when we first kind of start with them, they both want each other to convert, but it very quickly changes to just Lensa being like, you need to convert, and Kris being very open to it very quickly. So we only get that like both of them for a minute, which made me really sad because I wanted to see more of that, more of the like back and forth. But unfortunately, that's just not what happened. It wasn't in the cards. But while it wasn't in the cards for them to go back and forth like that, we get a side character in their couple situation, which is Kris's father, who is a Pentecostal pastor. So they're not like just passively, they're in it. They are deep. And this man's whole job, the whole time Lensa is in town to visit Kris, because they live in different states, this man is like, I am going to convert her. I'm going to save her. I'm going to do whatever I can. It is his entire mission, and it's wild to watch. One of my favorite moments with this is they're all having a family meal together. So when they sit down, Kris's father goes to do a blessing, does a prayer, and I'm pretty sure he said something like, thank you, Jesus, or amen, Jesus, something about Jesus. And then Lensa says her own little, like, just like blessing to herself, like just basically saying, like, thank you, Allah, something like that. And Kris's dad is just dismayed and is like, do you not include Jesus in that? And she just kind of has to be like, no. And it's so uncomfortable. It's so funny. Just like just to call her out right there while they're trying to eat. It was just such a weird moment. And that's when I knew. It was like the very beginning of what we get with this couple. And I was like, oh, this is the couple we have to strap in for because it's going to be a ride. And boy, was I correct about that. Continuing on in his mission to convert Lensa, Lensa becomes ill at one point in the trip. And Kris's dad goes over there under the pretense of like wanting to check on her. And then he's like, can I bless you with oil? And Lensa is like trying not to be rude, but also that's just not, like, that's not really part of her religion. She feels kind of weirded out about the idea in general, but she wants to be respectful. And, you know, they kind of talk about it for a minute. And she's like, what's in the oil? And he's like, it's olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. And so they go out to the car. They go out to the car and they get this special olive oil. And then he does the sign of the cross on her head. And she's just sitting there and she's in an interview being like, was that witchcraft? Like, what was happening? And it was just all such a funny interaction. Just every moment of it. If you can go back and watch it, like, honestly, I'm trying to talk just enough about this show that you will want to go watch it because I want a season 2. Please give us a season 2. But just every part of the interaction, Lensa asking her questions, just being like, and then just him being him, just wild television. Toward the end of the season, Lensa goes back home, and it's time for Kris to tell his family that he is going to be moving to the state Lensa's in. I'm pretty sure it's Utah. And on top of that, he's going to be converting to Islam. And this nearly kills his parents. I don't really know, like, if he thought this would go any better. I mean, he knew. He knew to some level it wouldn't, but this is exactly how I pictured it going. It happened exactly like that. His parents are just shocked, they're upset, but at the end of the day, you know, he's gonna do what he's gonna do, so they have to let him do it because he's a grown man. So he moves all the way out there to be with Lensa, and literally, from how it seems, from the way we saw everything, a couple days later, they are in their apartment together, and Lensa sees a girl has DM'd Kris on Instagram and flies off the handle. Just absolutely loses it, yelling at him, just the whole 9 yards. And truly and deeply, from everything we saw, including like he kind of showed the image, it really seems like just some random person DM'd him. And then he DM'd back being like, hey, I'm in a relationship, you know, blah, 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 blah. And if that is the case, wild behavior. However, we also see Lensa tell her father about Kris and the fact that she's dating this man. He's not Muslim, but he's converting, and her father isn't happy. So, I mean, I'm not a therapist or anything. Kris also kind of makes this observation, and so do I. Part of me feels like she might have wanted some reason to make this relationship end because her parents weren't going to accept him. It's easier for it to be like, he's a cheating bastard, he's this, he's that, versus just like, my family doesn't accept you. We'll never know if that's the case, because, you know, the episode ends, they're not together anymore, the season's over. But I do wonder that. That is my big question mark with them. Next up, we have Laurie, 36, who grew up Catholic, and Eli, 32, who is an Orthodox Jew. So I specified that Laurie grew up Catholic because she kind of abandoned her faith after she lost her father very young. This also led her into drinking a whole lot, which led her to AA, which is how her and Eli met. They were both alcoholics, and they met in AA and fell in love, and here they are now. Eli and her want to get married, but they can't even think about doing that until she converts. So we are watching her process converting to the Orthodox Jewish religion. The majority of what we see from them is Laurie's process of converting. She's learning about having to wear a wig over her hair after she gets married. She's taking classes with the rabbi, having to learn the different holidays, learn Hebrew. And that's the main focus, I would say, of their entire storyline, along with like minor issues and fights they have. Minor depending on, I guess, how you look at everything in the show in the grand scheme of the world, I guess. I would say their story and Ashley and Mohammed's stories are probably the most aligned in that I would say the main conflicts they get are more from just the whole idea of somebody converting, you know, the fears you have, the concerns, and then also the family of the person converting. Like Ashley, Laurie's family is very much not sure about this whole thing, kind of the similar idea of like, you shouldn't have to change for anybody, and then what about Christmas? Like, we're gonna lose you. All of that sort of stuff is the main conflict. I mean, they do have their fights over different things, which, you know, make you sometimes be like, oh, is she gonna make it? But I would say the more of the conflict is the first two things. And this is one truly, the whole time I was watching, I could not tell if Laurie actually wanted to convert or not. And I'm sure most of this was just editing, how all of these shows are. But it felt constructed very weird. Like, this is truly just a note about the show itself and nothing about them. The way they edited this story, I felt like when we got to the point where Laurie passes her test, she's converted, it almost didn't feel earned. Like, she earned it. Again, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the structure of the show. I don't know. Something in editing, I feel like they wanted to focus on drama moments more than they needed to, and we were definitely getting them in other places. So, editing note to the producers, I don't know, something just felt odd about the whole way it happened. And you never know. Maybe that really is how it happened. Maybe it was that weird, but it was a very odd one to watch because a lot of the time when I was watching it, I was like, they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it. They're not going to make it. And then they did, but it wasn't one of those like, wow, they did it. I was just sitting there like, I feel like what I watched wasn't right, if that makes any sense at all. And I already pretty much said this, but she does pass the test. She converts, and Eli proposes, and when the season ends, they are happily engaged, and I wish them nothing but the best, but I would love TLC if you would release the alternate version where we see Laurie doing more studying, success in the studying, taking some of that seriously. I don't know. Something was odd. Something was odd. Anyway, we're gonna move on. And lastly, we have Elmer, who is 23 and grew up Amish, but left the community to marry Lindsey, who is 34 and English. So in case you didn't grow up watching Breaking Amish like I did, English is what Amish people call non-Amish people. That's just the general term. And so that's what Lindsey's referred to throughout this. They don't really talk about religion past that. So we just have English and Amish for them. And we have to start out talking about one of the things I always love to talk about, which is the age gap, with Lindsey being 34 again and Elmer being 23. Now, this isn't, one of the world's worst, but like I was saying, I think it was in one of the 90 Day Fiancés video, it's always very weird to take somebody early 20s and early 30s. You're just at such different places in your life. I truly don't understand it. The farther you get up, age difference, it's nuanced, whatever. That's not what we're talking about. Taking aside just their age difference, he was also freshly out of the Amish community. So not only is he young and 23, he's like young, completely inexperienced, just like knows nothing about the real world. And then her, who is, the power imbalance felt very weird in this one. Not gonna lie, very odd vibes from the beginning. And like Ashley and Mohammed, they are married. And we find out during the show that Lindsey is pregnant. So they are in this. Their biggest conflict we see is all about like Elmer learning the English world. Lindsey accuses him of having a porn addiction and them having to deal with that. And Lindsey feels really frustrated because she feels like she's just having to like teach him everything and like he's a boy. And it's like, yeah, girl, like, what did you think you were signing up for? She talks about him so weirdly at so many points, just about him being Amish and, like, what she expected from him, especially when she starts getting into the porn addiction stuff. She's just like, I expected somebody wholesome and blah, blah, blah. And just, again, very weird vibes, very much reminds me of a 90 Day Fiancé when older Americans go across and try to find a foreign person who is younger to have that like double power over them, being older and then bringing them to America where they then have more power over them. I'm just saying, it was very bad vibes to watch the entire time. And toward the end of the season, Lindsey accuses Elmer of cheating. She says she was looking in his phone and saw text messages with a woman who was supposed to be a client. They call her Horse Girl, which is hilarious to me. That's how they refer to her. For the rest of the time, they refer to her 1010. And apparently, Elmer went over to Horse Girl's house, like, after hours. He claims he was just doing work for her. Lindsey says he cheated. I don't know. I have no idea what happened. But when I think about the season as a whole, I'm never saying it's right to cheat. You should never cheat. Cheating is bad. But all I'm saying is I could see how, because of the way Elmer was raised and everything, how with them being married and their child was born at this point, their child is born here in this world, I could see how he might not be able to see a way out. So, like, while I'm not excusing it, and if he did it, that's terrible, especially considering they had just had a newborn child together, cheating on your newly postpartum wife is bad. It's a very weird relationship overall, so I have a lot of weird mixed feelings about it that I don't like. And by the end of it all, they are saying they're gonna get divorced. Lindsey is like, I want full custody of the baby, and that's it. They're no longer together. I will say, Elmer didn't spoil the season. He technically did not spoil the season. He did not post it. But I was watching this show real time, pretty much. Maybe I started after the second episode, and literally every time I was on TikTok, I would see Elmer sitting there on live so often. And I was just like, there is no way a married man is on live this much by himself with a baby that's newly born. Like, there's just no way. So I knew from about, I don't know, episode like 4, I was like, oh, they're not together anymore. They're definitely not together. And I was right. I'm just saying. Overall, I feel like it was probably best for both of them that they not be in a relationship. And I just hope they're able to successfully co-parent their baby and both grow and thrive in their own individual ways. I don't think I want to see them on TV again, though, so I think we're good on that, TLC. Just saying. I don't really know how we would see any of these couples again, because you never know. They could do what some TV shows like to do and do like season 2 and follow some of the same couples and add in new couples. Maybe they'll give us all new couples. It'd be kind of hard, I feel like, to keep some old and do some new if they're going to limit it to 4 again. But maybe if they expanded the cast, who knows? But if there is any way, shape, or form we might see them again, I think we're good. I think we're good, at least for a while. Maybe get some therapy in them, something like that, before we put them on TV again. That's all I'm saying. And that is a wrap on the first season of TLC's Forbidden Love. Like I've been saying, I would love a season 2 of this show. I always think this dynamic is really interesting. Although, like I've said many times, I don't think it's a great idea if religion is your deal breaker to try to date somebody who's not that religion and just like try to force or hope they convert. Just doesn't seem like the best idea. I think something really interesting to see if we got a season 2 would be give us a couple who is established, been married a while, who just are 2 different religions. I would love to just see that dynamic and see what, struggles they may have, but just something a little different from like the forcing people to convert. I think it'd be very interesting to see something farther established, give us a different storyline. Free idea, TLC, you're very welcome. Overall, I think it was a really interesting and fun watch. I felt like it was very good, especially for being the season 1 of a show. To be fair, this is kind of TLC's bread and butter, so while it's a season 1, it's not like it's something they have never done before, even if it's just been in different variations and formats, so you do expect a certain level, and I think they met that level. I think it was really fun. I can see where it can grow and become like sort of like a 90-day. Maybe we can get different branches of it. I could see that in the future and I would be open to it. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. As always, I would love to hear all your thoughts, feelings, opinions down below. Did you watch it? Are you gonna watch it? Let me know all that and more. If you liked the video, make sure to like it. And if you like chit-chatting about reality TV, maybe subscribe to the channel. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next one.